Life is like, and it's over. The Wild comes to us from Vertical Entertainment. It's currently streaming on Amazon Prime and was written and directed by Jessica Kozak and features three friends that are trying to honor their late friend B, who died on a camping trip, by going on another camping trip. An annual camping trip where these four musketeerettes, because they're all women, and I felt the need to say that even though I don't think musketeerettes is actually a word, but I digress. These three friends are just wanting to honor their friend B and also have some fun like they used to have and have half the friendship they used to be. No, that doesn't really work. Nevertheless, as basically the camping continues to go on, certain things start to get said, and maybe it turns out these three friends aren't as unified as they used to be. Har har. So, yeah, it's a psychological drama with a few psychological horror elements, with a few, neat shots, and also three pretty talented actresses. We have Amelia, played by the incredibly gifted and gorgeous Sunita Mani, who was recently in The Roses, remake of War of the Roses. War of the Roses was better, but that is not down to Sunita Mani's fault for why The Roses didn't necessarily work. The cast is good, just the execution. She was also in Death of a Unicorn, which was really good, and she was really fucking funny in that. And there's also Finn, played by Kate Easton, who I've seen in a few things. I'm struggling to remember right now because I've seen a lot of goddamn movies in the last bit of this decade, just want to say. And we also have Lucy, played by Kayla Foster, who's in Your Monster, a movie that really deserved a lot more attention than it got. Melissa Barrera did not deserve to be fired from Scream 7, because Spyglass Entertainment decided to stand up for, basically the eradication of an entire section of people for no goddamn reason. That has nothing to do with this movie. I just felt the need to say that. But anyway, Your Monster was a lot of fun. And now we have this movie with three pretty talented actresses, and it's in a one-area shoot, and they can act their asses off, and there are some good, bits of performance in this, and also it's well shot. I will say that much. It actually is a beautifully shot movie. Only real issue is there isn't a lot of meat on the story bone. I don't really think there's a thing called the story bone, but I digress. And the twist is so obvious, you can see it coming from pretty much the beginning, like even before they go on this camping trip. Like, it's pretty obvious where this thing's going, even though they try maybe for a little bit of, hey, look over here, we're not actually trying to go this obvious direction. Yeah, you can tell what's going to happen. Now, that's not a deal breaker on a movie normally, and it's not the worst, thing to do in a movie, to be predictable. But when you don't really have enough material to bite into, you rely on the performances, and good performances from great actresses can only carry you so far. And while this movie is not horrible, it ends up being kind of dull. And that's unfortunate because there's talent behind the camera and in front of the camera. It just doesn't have enough to sink your proverbial teeth into. It's on Amazon if you want to check it out. 3, 2, 1, and spoiler. So there we are. So, B, it turns out, actually fell, jumped off a cliff, but the creek wasn't deep enough. Really, if you looked at this fucking thing, you wouldn't have even bothered diving because there was more rock than there was water, but whatever, it's fine. And we get introduced to these friends. We see these tents and some screaming and, chilling music, and then we see Amelia talking to a girl named Alice. It turns out actually lost her sister, and that's kind of haunting her to the point she's kicking her desk. She's angry. She kind of wants to lash out at people. She wants to hurt people. There's a syndicate that does that. She should probably try joining them. They have a business card, deep cut for wrestling fans, monumentally confusing to everybody else. So Alice is a bit of a counselor, but also is mourning B's death. Also, obviously, has a thing for a coworker who has a thing for her. Look at Sunita Mani. How could you not? And she also has a pet rabbit that ends up biting her. That ends up coming back to play a little bit later on. And I've had pet rabbits, by the way. You got to make sure that you pet them right, you treat them right, and if they want to be left alone, you leave them the fuck alone. Lucy, ends up teaching ballet, and there's an argument between two girls, one that may have tripped the other, one that may have not, who knows. And the ballet dancers are fighting again. Mother, 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 oh God, ballet, ballet. And they're all mourning in their own way. Finn is at a bar, ends up basically getting it on with a girl or a woman in like the bathroom, which didn't look like it was very well kept, but it was so badly lit I couldn't really tell, so I don't know why I bothered caring. Whatever, love is love. If you have a problem with people being with who they want to be with, same gender, both gender, doesn't matter. Just fuck off. So they end up deciding to go on this camping trip. Honor be in their own way. And Amelia ends up there for a bit until everybody else shows up. The campgrounds have been closed off, I assume, since this accident happened. And Finn, it's obvious that Finn and Amelia are trying to be like the two alpha, so to speak, while Lucy is kind of just going along with the whole thing, wants to play peacemaker. Apparently she's from Switzerland. And there's strange music and a woman's voiceover, and clearly something happened with B and somebody in this group was involved. I think that's pretty obvious, and if you can't figure out where this is going, yeah, you're probably not watching enough movies. And Finn basically is talking about death. I think death is kind of sexy. The unknown. Telegraphing again. Morse code. Finn basically ends up also saying it's her fault as they're out in the woods and stuff like that. And this is about 28 to 30 minutes into the movie. And the movie's only like 80 minutes before the credits start rolling. But that being said. So they're screaming effing C's from the high cliffs, which I can't say the word, even though it's one of my favorite insults, but that being said, a guy named Zeke shows up. Danny DeFerrari, who's fine. He's fine in this. He's kind of a memes to an end. And he basically, he could end up being a good guy. He could end up being a complete creep. It's obvious that Finn also swings both ways. Because she kind of gets close with him too. A little bit too close with him. Finn has a gun. Friendship keeps unraveling. At one point, there is a brown rabbit, and Amelia decides to shoot it because they're going to cook it, because I guess she had flashbacks to when her rabbit bit her. I wasn't very happy with that, even though I understand why they did it. And I'm not knocking the writer-director. I'm not discrediting the movie or downing the movie grade-wise because of that. I just have a thing with animal violence. That's just how I am. I mean, it's not like they shot an actual rabbit, but still. Zeke ends up singing. I've heard worse singing, but I've also heard better. And there is a point where Sunita Mani ingests a marshmallow. And I'm not going to say what was going through my mind, so I'm just going to move on from that. I want a woman to treat me like that. Damn it, I said I wasn't going to tweet or say what was in my mind. So, earlier, when the movie opened, Rockin' Robin was playing as we shot around the campground and stuff like that. And now Rockin' Robin is playing again. By the way, the credits start like about 11 minutes in. That is something that I think movies need to stop doing a lot. It's not as egregious as some that go 20 to 25 minutes. Influencer went 30. I think the movie Kill that came out last year. There was that Bollywood or India movie, just in case I get that wrong. That was like 45 minutes before they showed the credits, and the movie was only like an hour and 45 minutes long. And that was B's favorite song, by the way, Rockin' Robin. And I said, good grief, Sunita is just beautiful. I mean, just fucking beautiful. Now, they're tripping balls on Molly. And there's a bit of the sex going on. Now, is she tripping? Is she fucking Finn? Is she fucking Zeke? Is she fucking Olag? We don't actually know. There was also somebody with a rabbit's head on it, or a goat's head and a wavy dagger. And yeah, I don't know why in the world everybody decided to just trip balls, but then we get nudity in the creek, and okay, I'm down with that. Zeke shows up and strips down, and this movie just is kind of meandering at this point. And then Finn goes off with him. There's some red painting with some almost ritualistic-like stuff. I don't think it's art. I don't really know what the point of that was, because it doesn't really go anywhere. And then it turns out that Finn basically confesses that she saw Bee just before she died. And it turns out they actually were romantic with each other for a few months. Amelia did not know, but Bee told Lucy. So Amelia feels left out in the cold. There's talk of Amelia being controlling because of her job and also just how she is. Finn being a bit off, shall we say, and Lucy being right in the middle of the stuff. And then Zeke is dead. While Lucy is screaming, nobody knows what the hell happened. And you gotta get the keys and get out of there. And then Finn is holding Amelia hostage with the knife because Amelia is the bad person, according to Finn. But then Lucy shoots her, and then Amelia chokes her out. That's harkening back to something where Finn wanted to be choked in the bathroom. Choking can be fun, guys, but make sure that your partner is willing to be like on the receiving end of that, and also figure out your limits. That being said, now back at the school, she's talking to Alice, she being Amelia, and sometimes you want to hurt people, well, let's talk about it. Then she sleeps with her coworker. Lucy is basically standing up to these girls that are just not listening to her, especially this one blonde. I forget the name. It's not important for the purposes of this equation. And Lucy is living with her, with Amelia, that is. And we see the obvious. How did Zeke die? Obviously, Finn killed him. No. Turns out Amelia did it for reasons. She did it either out of jealousy or she did it because she truly is a monster. And maybe she ended up killing Bee. No, I really think that Bee just ended up jumping to her death and then the guilt just ate away at everybody. But she killed Zeke and then talked about, life is like, and it's over. And that's something that Zeke said. And then we go to credits. And there was a nice needle drop of Shadows of the Night by Pat Benatar. I did like that. That's while they were tripping balls. There were elements I liked in this. I just don't have enough to fully recommend it. So watch it for yourself. Decide for yourself. But 3 talented women. And I'm glad that, their films are going in this direction. I just wish there was more of a story and more stuff to sink your teeth into. Teeth. That's what word I mean. Unfortunately, F. I mean, it's an F I didn't want to give out, but I can't say I recommend this movie. I can't say I hated it, but honestly, I was bored by about half of it. So agree, disagree with what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Retlin, and until we go into the wild again, happy trails to you.